What is up, y'all? It's Jeremiah with Mark Outdoors, and today I'm going to be bringing you guys a video on what it takes to get started bow hunting. We're just going to be talking specifics. We're going to talk bows, quivers, releases, arrows, stuff like that. And just basically going to talk about what's going to get you into the sport and give you a few options, and I'll let you guys decide from there. So our first option is going to be a new, lower end, less expensive bow, but would be a brand new bow. Now this bow is actually not brand new, but this is the Diamond. It's one of the Infinite Edge series bows, and this is actually an excellent bow to get started with. And I looked them up. I think you can get them for right around $400 at Bass Pro. Now that's not the full package. I'd say they sell them as a package deal for everything you need, but I think bare bow, they're right around $400. And these are a great starting setup for a bow. They have multiple draw lengths, and I think they go all the way down to 70 pounds with draw weight. Now, I will say that with one of these bows, the poundage and the letdown that it's going to have is not going to be great because they're not built for super heavy poundage shooters, but they can shoot that heavy. And for the price, it's definitely hard to beat a bow like this as a beginner. I started with the Bowtech Diamond Infinite Edge when it was still part of Bowtech. I think they still own them, but it was on the bow. And when I started with the Bowtech, they were not near as nice as this bow, but I absolutely pounded on the deer with them. I think I tagged my first deer with my Diamond when I was 9 years old, and I was addicted ever since. And they're excellent bows. Now, like I said, bare bow, I think they're around $400. A package deal probably be closer to $600, but for the price, it's pretty hard to beat, and they're excellent bows for getting into it. Now, this is a solid option starting out for a brand new bow. This is my dad's bow. This is a Hoyt Carbon Spider. I think this is the ZT version, and this bow is clearly used. It's been used for a long time. I think this bow is between 6 and 8 years old, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly. But this bow is an excellent stinking bow, and it has killed a lot of critters with it. Elk, whitetail, squirrels, you name it. I've shot all sorts of critters with it, and so has my dad. And this is a really awesome bow. And the wild part is, bows are a lot like cars. Once you drive it off the lot, the price goes way down. And with this bow specifically, I mean, yeah, there's some paint chips and stuff like that. Somebody selling this bow would probably get fully set up condition-wise, between probably $300 and $600. And that $600 is probably on the high end. And this is a sweet bow to get started with. And I have seen all sorts of used bows on the internet and all sorts of used bows that my buddies have sold. I've sold multiple of my old bows. And I gotta say, that is a great option to get into bow hunting, as well as buying a used, fully set up bow and then just taking it to an archery shop, getting arrows cut for you, getting a draw length fit to you. That is also a great option. And like I said, this is a carbon bow. This is super light. It's one of the first carbons they made, and you can still probably get it for, I was looking on the internet, somewhere probably around the $500 mark if I had to guess. But that is also an excellent way to get into hunting, and you get perks like who knows what kind of sight they've got. This is a single pin sight. It's a very expensive sight. This has an Apache rest on it. It's not a cheap rest, but it's not expensive either. But you can get a great used setup just getting into bow hunting. I just will say, take it to your archery shop. Make sure it fits you. Make sure everything fits you. Now, if you want to update things, you can. I've got buddies who shoot 15-year-old bows, and with that 15-year-old bow, they're shooting aluminum arrows, and they still drive tacks and kill deer with them. So, I mean, it's kind of up to the shooter on how expensive you want to go, because with these, there's middle-of-the-line bows, too. I actually used to own one. It's called the Hoyt Power Max, and it's still probably the favorite bow I've ever owned. But it was more of a middle-of-the-road bow. I think brand new bare bow was like $700 probably. But we're not talking $1,500, $1,800, nothing like that crazy with these new bows. And that's just bare bow. So you got to remember, your sights, rest, arrows, you're probably adding on another $500, $600, $700 after just buying the bare bow. So buying a used bow is an excellent way to do it. Just make sure, if you can, shoot it. You don't want to get a bow that has like a bend right here or something, and there's a limb bent or something like that, or a cam bent, and the bow doesn't shoot very good and someone's trying to pawn it off on the internet. But that's the only drawbacks with used bows. Otherwise, they're pretty sweet, and the technology has been the same for a while now. Small differences, but nothing huge. Nothing that's a real game changer. Now, the last option, this is a brand new bow. This is my Hoyt Carbon Redworks, and this is the current bow that I'm using. And this is, not gonna lie to you, a awesome bow. It is incredibly light. It shoots very fast. It is very quiet. And it's a tack driver for sure. But here's the thing. To get that brand newness, I mean, you're paying probably in the range for a full setup, depending on what you're going to shoot, in the $2,000 plus range. And if I wasn't so serious about hunting and it wasn't all that I do, I probably would not have a bow setup like this. But it's what I love. It's what I choose to spend my money on. You know, I don't spend my money on lifts and wheels and tires, so I like bows. But a brand new bow, yes, it is brand new, so you're probably going to have less problems, less wear and tear off of a brand new bow. And there is some new technology. A lot of times brand new bows are quieter than your older bows. But like I said, it's a super sweet bow, but you're talking about some serious money. And if you're just getting into it and you're brand new, this is probably not what I would go with. But if you have the cash and you really want to get into it, send it. I mean, I love it, so I'm sure you will too. So now we're going to talk about releases. When you're just starting, you'll probably end up with something like this. This is a TrueFire release. This is a super cheap release. And I've killed a pile of deer with a release almost exactly like this. TrueBall makes good releases too. And that they're hard to go wrong with. This is the clamp style release, so it just snaps around the D-loop. You pull the trigger. Now, the release I'm currently shooting is a hook style release by B3 Archery. I think I actually found this on sale and just gave it a whirl, and I liked it. But the hook style release, it's got a hook on it. When you squeeze the trigger, the hook lets loose. I haven't noticed a difference in shots with it per se. I will say I do like it because when it's darker, I feel like I can find my loop quick with it instead of trying to snap, because the snap thing, you know, with a D loop that's constantly wiggling around, it can be hard, but I don't see much of a difference. So it's really personal preference, but I like the trigger style releases the best. Now, there are handheld releases that some of them use pressure to set them off. Some of them have a trigger, I think, on them. I've never bought one personally. I lose things a lot, and having it strapped to my wrist is a big deal. I got to strap mine on at home because I will forget my release. I always carry an extra one in my hunting bag. I know a lot of guys that use them. I don't personally use them though. Now we're going to go on to your arrows. So this is a pretty common hunting arrow that you're going to see. This is a gold tip hunter style arrow, and they're sweet arrows. They fly great. They're very similar in grains for the most part. And basically you just have your guy at your bow shop build you some arrows. You'll see a ton of guys shoot these. Now this is a newer style arrow. I believe this is a 5mm. It has an insert on it. It's quad fletch. And these are custom arrows, and they are very expensive. You're probably looking at $80 more for a dozen. For your gold tips, you're looking at probably $120 for a dozen, somewhere in there. For these, you're probably looking at $220. So I would say $200 to $220 for a more custom style arrow. And smaller diameter arrows are generally more expensive. Now I will say with arrows, you can kind of shoot whatever arrow you like. It's personal preference. I'm not a super brand specific guy. Even with your bows here, I don't get really brand specific. I like the Hoyt bows. Yes, I've shot the Hoyt bows for a long time. But everybody is making great bows now, especially brand new bows. And it's similar with arrows. You don't got to buy a super duper expensive arrow. Now, I would be careful on stuff like buying Amazon arrows and stuff like that. You just want to be careful because archery is such a precision ordeal that you would really hate to shoot yourself in the foot on buying something that's not of quality and it end up hurting you, especially in the woods. That would be terrible. So I don't get super specific on that. So just starting out, gold tips are great. But it just depends on how much you want to spend, where you want to go. Easton makes good arrows too, so it's up to you guys. Now, lastly, we're going to talk broadheads. Now, this is a Muzzy Trocar. It's just a three-blade broadhead, and they're super cheap. I think you can get a 3-pack at Walmart for like $22, $23, and I mean, a couple of these have zipped through some elk hanging on my dad's wall. So they're a solid broadhead for the price. Now, you can shoot whatever you want. There's big fixed blades, which I don't really recommend for a beginner because you can have arrow flight problems with them. There are expandables. Depending on your poundage, expandables can be a sketchy area because of penetration and stuff like that. But I will say, all in all, this Muzzy 3-blade, it's an excellent broadhead. So anyways, guys, that is going to be it. I just tried to give you everything I know for getting started out, and hopefully I'm able to help some of y'all out down the road. So Jeremiah with Monarch Outdoors, signing out.